Agriculture and the food economy are crucial for the economic, social and environmental sustainability in Africa. Africa also faces a big challenge in terms of job creation. 800 million jobs will have to be created in Africa up to 2030. For this reason, the European Union created the Rural Africa Task Force. Eleven experts from different fields of expertise in Europe and Africa coming together every month since May to recommend how to strengthen the Europe-Africa partnership in order to transform the agricultural sector and create all of these needed jobs. The spirit really of the report and the recommendation of the task force is about going beyond the traditional government-to-government framework of Europe-Africa relation and add the other two important levels of business-to-business and people-to-people partnership to create more jobs and in particular to transform agriculture. The report of the task force we have just launched focuses on four main areas of recommendation. A territorial development strategies to income and job creation, strengthening the African food industry and food markets, sustainable natural resources management and climate action, and a sustainable transformation of the agricultural sector. Given the area of expertise and the work we are doing at ECDPM, the particular input I made to the task force recommendation and report is in four areas. The report recommends a focus on a territorial development strategy for job creation, which is very important to make sure that international, national and local action are aligned to serve the development needs of a territory. What then ECDPM, through me in particular, put on the table was the importance of taking not only a territorial development approach but also a food system approach. So actions need to be strengthened for sustainability and job creation, not only on the production side, but in the whole construction of the food system, from production to distribution to consumption. You need to get a system approach so that also consumers, marketeers are engaged and the whole system is taken into account when you're trying to strengthening and make it more sustainable. The second area where ECDPM through me has made a particular strong contribution is the role of markets. Here we stress the importance of regional trade. It is very important to focus for the coming years on the objective of Africa feeding Africa, more than strengthening the role of Africa in international trade. Exports outside of Africa are happening and are important, but what is more urgent is that African neighbors exchange more food among themselves and remove the bottlenecks to regional markets. That is going to create a lot of jobs given the growing population in Africa. The third area of ECDPM's stronger input was sustainable natural resources management and climate action. And fourth, the importance of making sure that private finance and public-private finance work better for the agriculture and food economy. Climate is very crucial. Agriculture is very impacted directly by climate change. So what we recommend in the task force is that international climate finance should be used much more for agriculture and for agriculture in Africa. The resources in particular of the Green Climate Fund should be dedicated in a fixed share to the funding of adaptation of agriculture in Africa. We are recommending this in particular both because the European Union is the largest financier to the Green Climate Fund and also because Africa is the continent where the impact is strongest, is already strongly felt from climate change. Today, the resources of the Green Climate Fund, around 75%, are still used for mitigation, which is an important problem, but adaptation of agriculture is today's key concern of smallholders and the majority of African farmers, not mitigation. Therefore, the task force recommends that fixed share of the Green Climate Fund is used to finance, in particular, the fast tracking of the food-related parts of the African National Determined Contribution and National Adaptation Plan, which are part of the Paris Agreement on climate change. Also, it is very important that the capacity of African actors is strengthened in order to access the resources of the Green Climate Fund, because today it is quite difficult to access the resources, is bureaucratic. And lastly, Europe and Africa should be working together for an international coalition going beyond the Europe-Africa relation to make sure that globally the Green Climate Fund is devoted more for agricultural adaptation, and also an international coalition to convince private sector actors, also important climate financier, to devote more resources for agriculture in Africa. Another crucial area of the recommendation of the report is the importance of making sure the European investment plan is used much more for agriculture. Today, only development finance institutions from Europe and the Africa Development Bank are accessing the resources of the EIP, but these are not flowing to the local financial institutions and banks. And also, there is a problem of lack of coordination between the three pillars of the EIP. The finance itself, Pillar 1, the enabling environment for investment, Pillar 2, and the technical assistance, Pillar 3. These three are not really coordinated. So in the future, not only finance should be going to agriculture much more through a sustainable agricultural window, but also much more work should be done in coordinating the three pillars in order for the finance to flow from Europe to the financial institution at the local level, so that they are ultimately accessed by smallholder farmers and their organizations. The recommendation of the Task Force Rural Africa report holds great potential to make sure that the Europe-Africa partnership for agriculture and job creation is strengthened. However, what happens next is a matter of political will. We have the elections upcoming in the European Parliament, so we will have a new commission. It will be up to them to implement the set of actions we have recommended. Not only the European Commission should be using our recommendations as an action plan in their relation with the African Union institutions, it is also the role of the member states to strengthen their impact for sustainable agriculture and job creation in Africa. So also the member states should, in their bilateral relation, pick and use the recommendation of the report to strengthen their initiatives and their partnerships in Africa. Also, it's very important that the African institutions and the African countries beyond the African Union institutions use the discussions and the recommendations in our report to support the plans they are putting in place for agriculture. Regardless of what happens, of course, in the elections and in individual African countries, ECDPM will continue in the coming months and years to focus on these very important areas, to strengthen policy dialogue on the sustainability of agriculture, on how to use finance for agriculture, on what are the relations between climate and agriculture. And we will, with our partners and the creation of multi-stakeholder partnerships on the ground, make sure that these partnerships is indeed centered not only on government-to-government relation, but also business-to-business and people-to-people.